Okay, so generative AI is absolutely everywhere, right? The promise is massive. But there's this weird paradox happening inside companies. All this excitement, all this buzz, and yet most AI projects are just failing. So today we're going to dig into why that is. And spoiler alert, it's probably not for the reason you think. Let's get into it. So let's just start with the big question, the one that's keeping execs and dev teams up at night. Why, with all this incredible tech at our fingertips, are so many generative AI projects hitting a wall? It honestly feels like we've all been given the keys to a supercar, but we can't get it out of first gear. What's going on? And the scale of this problem is, well, it's kind of shocking. According to MIT estimates, a whopping 95% of GenAI pilot projects fail to ever make it into production. Think about that. That's not a small failure rate. That's a full-blown crisis. For every 20 projects that get the green light, only one actually crosses the finish line. And here's the absolute heart of the issue, the big reveal. The problem isn't the algorithm. It's not the model. It's not a lack of computing power. The real reason these incredibly sophisticated AI projects are falling flat on their face is the fuel we're feeding them. The problem isn't the AI, it's the data. So what do we call this huge gap between what we want to do with AI and the actual state of our data? Well, there's a name for it, and it's called the AI readiness crisis. Let's unpack what that really means. You know, we've all heard that old saying from the early days of computing, garbage in, garbage out. For decades, that just meant if you fed a system bad data, you'd get a wrong number on a spreadsheet or a dashboard. Annoying? For sure. But usually, a sharp-eyed analyst could spot it and fix it. But here's where it gets really interesting and kind of scary. With AI, it's not garbage in, garbage out anymore. It's garbage in, hallucination out. See, bad data doesn't just give you a wrong number now. It causes the AI to generate incredibly confident, totally plausible sounding, but completely made-up stories. And that is so much more dangerous. And this is not some theoretical problem. We're talking about real money, a lot of it. On average, poor data quality costs a single company almost $13 million every single year. And that's before you even start to calculate the millions wasted trying to train these expensive AI models on that junk data in the first place. Okay, so how do we fix this? The answer isn't just to go out and buy another piece of software. It actually requires a deep, fundamental shift in how we think about data itself. We need a whole new mindset around data governance. And this table just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the old way. Data governance was all about compliance, about locking data down. It was a bottleneck. On the right, you have the new way, treating data as a product. The goal isn't just to mitigate risk, it's to create value. The experience for a user goes from submit a ticket and wait 3 weeks to let me just browse this catalog and get what I need right now. It turns governance from being the brakes on AI into the high-octane fuel for it. All right, enough with the theory, let's get practical. How do you actually build these high-quality, AI-ready data products? What does it look like on the ground? Well, the blueprint is often what's called a medallion architecture. It's a simple 3-step process. First, data comes in as bronze. It's raw, it's messy, you just dump it in. Then, it moves to the silver layer. Here's where the magic happens. It gets cleaned up, organized, and any sensitive stuff, PII, that's personally identifiable information, gets taken out. And finally, it graduates to gold. This is the AI-ready product. The text is broken into chunks and indexed perfectly so that a RAG system, that's retrieval augmented generation, can find exactly what it needs in a split second. But a pipeline is just tech, right? You need people to make it sing. And you can think of it like a trinity of new roles. You have the data product owner, who's like the CEO of the data product. They set the vision. Then there's the data product manager, who's the value architect, totally obsessed with what the end users, the data scientists, actually need. And holding it all together is the data steward, the quality guardian, who's in the trenches every day, making sure that data is squeaky clean and trustworthy. Finding people who can do all this, that's the real challenge. So how do all these people and all these systems stay in sync? The answer is something called a data contract. Now, this isn't a legal document you sign, it's code. It's a machine-readable agreement. Think of it like a nutrition label for your data. It guarantees the quality and the format. So if some data source upstream suddenly changes, the contract breaks the pipeline before any bad data can get in and poison your AI model. It's your ultimate safety net. Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but does it actually work in the real world? Is anyone really doing this? Let's take a look at some proof from the field. First up, let's talk about Intuit. You know, the company behind TurboTax and QuickBooks. They were basically drowning in a data swamp. Tons of data from millions of users, but it was total chaos. So they implemented what's called a data mesh, which is really just this data as a product idea put into practice at a massive scale. And the results? They were pretty amazing. They got a 26% productivity boost for their data teams, which is huge. But check this out. This is the real kicker. They saw a 44% decrease in hallucinations from their internal AI chatbots. That's a direct line. Better data governance equals better, more trustworthy AI, period. Now for our second example, let's jump into the super high-stakes world of biotech. The pharma giant Roche took this exact same data as a product playbook and applied it to one of the most complex problems out there, speeding up drug discovery. And in their world, speed and accuracy can literally be a matter of life and death. And what happened? By treating all their complex research and clinical data as trusted products, they saw an unbelievable 80% reduction in the time it took their scientists to do analysis. An 80% drop. That means getting life-saving drugs to market that much faster. And if that wasn't enough, on top of that incredible speed boost, they also saved 90% on their data storage costs. So this proves that good governance isn't just about making things better. It can also make them way more efficient and cheaper. So we've talked tech, we've talked process, but that brings us to the final and honestly the hardest piece of this entire puzzle, the cultural transformation. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The transition is 20% technology and 80% culture. You can buy the best tools, you can design the most elegant architecture, but if you don't change how people think about and work with data, none of it will matter. The real work is changing the company culture from one of hoarding data to one of sharing it and taking collective ownership. Which really brings us to the final question to leave you with. The AI is ready. These models are incredibly powerful, and they are ready to learn whatever we can throw at them. The real challenge now isn't about the AI anymore. It's about us looking in the mirror and asking a much more fundamental question. Is our data ready to teach?